Everyone. I am Dr. Lubna Avesi. I am from the pathology. So today's lecture is basically based on the WHO classification of the bone tumors. But still, we also cover some of the bone tumors in this lecture and some of the bone tumors which we will be covering tomorrow in the subsequent lecture. Okay. So basically, WHO classification of the bone tumors are based on 5 to 6 major categories. Either it could be cartilaginous tumors, it's bone forming tumors, which are osteogenic tumors. They could be fibrogenic tumors, fibrohistiocytic tumors. Again, fibrohistiocytic tumors and fibrogenic tumors are also present in the bone, and also they have soft tissue counterparts. Means these tumors are also arising in the soft tissues of the body. And then we have Ewing sarcoma, then we have hematopoietic tumors, again giant cell tumors, notochordal tumors, vascular, smooth muscle, lipogenic, and some miscellaneous tumors. So if we go on the cartilaginous tumor, there are benign cartilaginous tumors and there are malignant cartilaginous tumors. So benign cartilaginous tumors are osteochondroma, chondroma, and chondroblastoma, and chondromyxoid fibroma. And the malignant cartilaginous tumor is chondrosarcoma. So today we are covering these cartilaginous tumors, and rest of the tumors which we will be covering in subsequent tomorrow's lecture. Okay. So then there are bone forming tumors which are benign and which may be malignant, and these are the osteoid osteoma, osteoblastoma. These osteoid osteoma and osteoblastoma are benign bone forming or osteogenic tumors, and the osteosarcoma is the malignant tumor of the malignant osteogenic tumor, which is forming the malignant bone. And this osteosarcoma has multiple types. It could be conventional, which is chondroblastic, fibroblastic, and osteoblastic. These are the morphological subtypes. Again, the osteosarcomas are telangiectated. They have multiple large vessels. They are small cell, low grade. It could be secondary to radiation or secondary to Paget's disease, could be parosteal, periosteal, and high-grade surface osteosarcomas are the subtypes of the osteosarcoma. Then we have fibrogenic tumors, which is desmoplastic fibroma and fibrosarcoma. These the codes are the numbers which are shown in front of the tumors are the WHO coding system, which we are using for the diagnosis purpose, or which we are using for the histopathological reports. Then we have fibrohistiocytic tumors. Fibrohistiocytic tumors, the main cell component in the fibrohistiocytic tumors are the histiocyte. They are the histiocytic cell origin tumor. They are benign fibrous histoma, which is the benign counterpart, and then the malignant counterpart is the malignant fibrous histiocytoma. Then we have Ewing sarcoma, which is the second most common malignant tumor, malignant pediatric tumor, or malignant tumor of the children, which is Ewing sarcoma. Again, Ewing sarcoma is also present in the bone, and also they arise in the soft tissues of the body. Then we have hematopoietic tumors. Hematopoietic tumors could be plasma cell myeloma, which we called it multiple myeloma, and lymphomas. There are multiple types of lymphomas. It could be mostly non-Hodgkin lymphomas are arising in the bone, but it could be a Hodgkin lymphoma, but it is very rare. So mostly in bones, we see the non-Hodgkin type lymphomas. Then we have giant cell tumor. Again, giant cell tumor is again a common bone tumor of the bone, which is giant cell tumor exactly is not benign. They have borderline malignant potential. Means it could behave in a benign fashion, and it could behave in a malignant fashion. Borderline means although they are benign tumors, but they have tendency to metastasize. So sometimes it behave in malignant fashion. There are notochordal tumors, which are the chordomas. Chordomas are again arising in the bone, and also they have the soft tissue counterpart. Then we have Vascular tumors. Vascular tumors, again, the benign counterpart is the hemangioma. They have multiple variable sized vessels lined by endothelial cells, and the malignant counterpart of the vascular tumor is the angiosarcoma. Then we have smooth muscle tumors, which are also arising in the bone. They are leiomyoma and leiomyosarcoma, but they are very rare. Then lipogenic tumors we see in bones, but again, uh, they rarely arise in the bone, but still they are there. So the benign is lipoma, and the liposarcoma is the malignant counterpart of the lipogenic tumors. Then we have neural tumors, which are the neurilemoma. Then we have miscellaneous tumors, which are the adenoadenoma and the metastatic malignancies. Usually we receive metastasis in bone. The common sites are, it could be lung, it could be thyroid, it could be prostate, kidney. These are the common sites from which the bone receives metastasis. Although it could be of any tumor which any malignant tumor which metastasizes to the bone, but these basically 4 to 5 sites are common, which are roughly we say the organs which are near to the midline of the bone, like thyroid, lungs, then we have kidneys, then we have prostate. These are the commonly metastasizing tumor to the lung. Again, in female breast. Then we have miscellaneous tumors. Miscellaneous tumors are the aneurysmal bone cyst, which is the common bone cyst of the bone. It's a benign condition. It could be primary, it could be associated with other bone tumors. Then simple cyst, then we have fibrous dysplasia, which are the fibro-osseous lesions. Then we have osteofibrous dysplasia. Again, this is the broad category for the fibrous dysplasia, and the osteofibrous dysplasia these are basically the fibro-osseous lesions. Then we have Langerhans cell histiocytosis. Then we have Erdheim-Chester disease and the chest wall hematomas. Again, if we go on the joint, then we have synovial chondromatosis in the joint. So this is basically the WHO classification of the bone tumors. So common bone tumors, again, I want to review for you guys, like in cartilaginous tumors, we commonly see in day-to-day practice or in orthopedic or in the laboratory practice is the osteochondroma and chondroma are the common tumors. Again, chondromyxoid fibroma and chondroblastomas are a little bit rare. Chondrosarcomas we commonly see. Then in osteogenic tumors, then we commonly see the osteoid osteoma and the osteosarcomas. Then fibrogenic tumors are a little bit rare. Fibrohistiocytic tumors are a little bit rare in bone. Then we commonly see Ewing sarcoma in day-to-day practice. We commonly see plasma cell myeloma. And again, giant cell tumor commonly seen tumor. Then hemangiomas and angiosarcomas and chordomas. Chordomas we see in the bone, but little bit less frequently. So in vascular tumors, again, rare, but still they are present. Smooth muscle lipogenic tumors are rare. Then adenoadenoma is also seen in the bone, but not very common. Then aneurysmal bone cyst is commonly we see in the bone, either itself aneurysmal bone cyst are associated with any other bone lesion. So this is for the WHO classification. Now we start from some bone tumors. So Mozam, can you see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
दूसरी वाली नजर आ रही है ना?
जी.
Okay. So we start from the bone tumors. So bone tumors basically are, it could be a growth, it could be usually they are growth, but and usually patient presents with either pain, swelling, and sometimes patients are asymptomatic. So if we go through the specific locations for the bone tumors, so usually we receive long bones. In long bones, we usually see osteoblastoma, Ewing sarcoma, and chondroblastomas. Again, osteosarcoma we usually see in long bones. Then common tumors around the knee could be all of the bone tumors may arise in the around the knee joint, but commonly along with these we also see osteosarcoma and Ewing sarcoma. The common site for the osteosarcoma and Ewing sarcoma is around the knee joint. Then again, Ewing sarcoma we see in the proximal shaft of the femur. Then we also see the fibrous dysplasias. We also see the simple bone cyst and chondroma and its Ewing sarcoma. Again, in small bones of hands, we see the enchondromas, which are the chondromas. It's a purely cartilaginous tumor, but benign. Then we see giant cell tumor and the eosinophilic granuloma in the distal radius, the common site for these both tumors. Then for the pelvis or hip bone, as you see here is osteosarcoma, chondrosarcoma, simple bone cyst, lymphoma, Ewing sarcoma, chordomas, and eosinophilic granulomas are the common site for the hip bone or pelvis. So in a spine, we usually see hemangiomas, aneurysmal bone cyst, chordoma, myeloma, and MEDS. Again, we see osteoblastoma and osteoidostoma, but little bit less frequently. So commonly we see ABC, which is the aneurysmal bone cyst, myelomas, and metastasis in a spine. Then ribs, we usually see metastasis, and chondromas and chondrosarcomas and Ewing sarcoma. In humerus, proximal humerus, all bone tumors can arise from the proximal humerus, and again the simple bone cyst has the site for the proximal humerus. Then mandible, we see adamentinoma and dentogenic cyst, which are multiple cysts. It could be dentigerous cyst, it could be radicular cyst, it could be odontogenic keratocyst, it could be keratinaceous cyst. And skull, we receive metastasis and myelomas, and it could be eosinophilic granuloma. So again, if you see, if we divide the patient's age below 30 and more than 30, so what type of bone tumors are commonly occurring below 30 years of age? It is fibrous dysplasia, Ewing sarcoma, osteoid osteoma, osteochondroma, aneurysmal bone cyst, then chondromyxoid fibroma, then non-ossifying fibroma, osteosarcoma, infections, and chondroblastomas. These are the common tumors, bone tumors, which are benign. Some of them are benign, some of them are malignant. Usually we see below 30 years of age. If we classify the bone tumors which we commonly see above 30 years of age, it could be metastasis, multiple myeloma, and lymphoma. Then again, enchondromas and chondrosarcomas. Chondrosarcoma is malignant. Then giant cell tumor, infection. These are the common tumors which we see above the age of 30. So there is certain role of radiology in the diagnosis of bone tumors. So what type of radiology we need for the diagnosis of bone tumors? It could be conventional radiographs, which are the plain X-rays, then CT scan, MRI, bone scan, and PET scan. These are the radiologies which we need for the diagnosis of bone tumors. Then we go for the zone of transition. Zone of transition, basically it's the zone between the abnormal and normal zone. If it is present in the benign lesions, it is sharp determining. And if there is malignant tumor, the zone of transition between the malignant tumor and the benign bone is little bit not very much sharp and infiltrative. So what is periosteal reaction? Periosteal reaction is basically a non-specific reaction of the periosteum. Periosteum is the covering layer of the bone. If the periosteum is irritated, there is periosteal reaction. It could be seen in benign tumors, it could be seen in malignant tumors, infections, or trauma. Usually there are some of the tumors in which the periosteal reaction is helpful, like osteosarcoma, in which there is lift of the periosteum. It causes the sunburst appearance and Codman sign, which helps on radiology or X-ray and MRI, helps in the diagnosis of malignancy. So periosteal reaction in some conditions is very helpful, but again, it is present in trauma and infection, and sometimes it's very difficult on the basis of only radiology that the lesion is benign or malignant. So we need the biopsy for that tumor. And then there are two patterns of periosteal reaction. It could be a benign pattern, it could be an aggressive type pattern. So benign type you see in benign lesions such as benign tumors and following trauma. And aggressive type usually we see in the malignant tumors. But again, aggressive type you can see in infections like osteomyelitis. So you see the periosteal reaction, there is a lift of, if you compare with the radiographs, there is the smooth line of the bone, and here the lift of the covering of the bone periosteum, which basically shows that there is periosteal reaction, but it's a benign type periosteal reaction. So here we start from the cartilaginous tumors of the bone. Then first we see the osteochondroma. Osteochondroma is basically the benign bone surface tumor, which is arising from the bone. It has the bony stalk which communicates to the bone, and it has some marrow elements in the center, along with mature bone trabeculae and cartilaginous cap. So this is the benign bone surface tumor composed of mature bone with a cartilaginous cap. It could be solitary, it could be multiple in multiple hereditary exostosis. Usually it's a common bone tumor, approximately 35% of the benign bone tumors and 10% of all bone tumors. Slight predominance for men. Usually it is diagnosed in first 2 decades of life, below 20 years of age. But again, it's not necessary you can diagnose it below 20. It may be seen the age range. If we talk about the age range for the osteochondroma, it's 20 to 49 years. Usually it is arising from the metaphysis, and the common bones which involve in the osteochondroma is femur, humerus, and tibia. Basically, the long bones are usually involved at the common site for the osteochondroma, but the small bones or the flat bones also have involvement, but little bit lesser involvement. And small bones and vertebrae are rare. So if we go for the clinical features, usually it is asymptomatic. It is pedunculated on radiology or X-rays. It is pedunculated or sessile. It has mature bony stalk, which is continuous with the parent bone or bone of the origin. And there are thin lobulated cartilaginous cap, which may contain calcifications. On gross description, it is pedunculated or sessile bony lesion. On morphology, it has mature. If we go on the pictures, this is the morphology of the osteochondroma. You see, these are the mature bone trabeculae, which are lined by mature osteoblast. Osteoblast are the bone forming cells, and there is in between marrow elements. Again, you see the low power view of the osteochondroma. Here you see the mature bone trabeculae, a little bit marrow elements, and here the cartilaginous cap. So this is the normal histology of the osteochondroma. On the top, there is benign mature cartilage, which is not more than 3 centimeter in thickness. If it is more than 3 centimeter in thickness, the cartilaginous cap, if it is more than 3 centimeter in thickness, we think of malignant lesions, and usually chondrosarcomas are arising from that area. Here you see the radiology. These are the pedunculated lesions. You see the stalk which is connecting to the underlying bone, and here is the tumor, which is the osteochondroma. Here we see the gross. You see a little bit of a stalk which was resected from the originating bone, and here is the cartilaginous cap. You see the shiny pearly covering, which is the cartilage, and here is the low power view of the osteochondroma. Again, on morphology, this one is the cartilaginous cap and underlying mature trabeculae and little bit marrow elements. Here you see the clear picture. These are the mature trabeculae, which are normal bone is lined by osteoblasts, which are the bone forming cells, and here is the marrow elements. Enchondromas. Enchondromas are basically benign cartilaginous tumors. They are usually asymptomatic. If there is pathological fracture, then patient feels pain. The normal age range for the enchondromas or chondromas are the 20 to 49 years, no gender preferences, and it may be due to the displaced growth plate. Sites for the enchondromas are usually the small bones of feet and hands. They are 70% are solitary and 30% are multiple. Multiple enchondromas may produce severe deformities and may be associated with chondrosarcomatous or malignant transformation. And there is Maffucci syndrome and Ollier syndrome, in which there is multiple enchondromas along with soft tissues hemangiomas and ovarian carcinoma and brain gliomas, which are the brain tumors. So enchondromas are arising in as a single setting or may be associated with some underlying syndrome. So it could be Maffucci syndrome, it could be Ollier syndrome. So in Ollier syndrome, these are the non-hereditary diseases of multiple enchondromas, which are present in the long bones and flat bones, which is associated with skeletal deformities, and it is also associated with other lesions like ovarian sex cord stromal tumors. In Ollier syndrome, there are ovarian sex cord tumors along with enchondromas, and in Maffucci syndrome, there is ovarian carcinomas, brain gliomas, soft tissue hemangiomas along with enchondromas. So the radiological description for the enchondroma is there is thinning, but again preservation of the cortex. There is O-ring sign, which is the open ring sign on the radiology for enchondromas. As you know, the enchondromas are benign, so there is no penetration in the soft tissue, and pathological fractures are common due to the deformities. So on gross description, it is well circumscribed, pale blue solid like it resembles the normal cartilage without myxoid change. So here we see, here is the microscopic descriptions. There are the lobules of hyaline cartilage which are encased by bone and covered by pericardium. So necrosis is common in benign lesions due to the avascular cartilage. Sometimes enchondromas resembles low-grade chondrosarcomas due to the hypercellularity, myxoid change, and binucleation. So here we see the pictures for the enchondromas. This is the gross appearance of the enchondromas. You see the lobulated lesions, like here is the shiny, pale, bluish lesion present in the bone. And here is the morphology of the enchondromas. Here is the myxoid matrix or cartilaginous background along with chondrocytes. Usually you see single nuclei in the chondrocyte. But again, there are some which show binucleation, like 2 nuclei. This sometimes confusing with the low-grade chondrosarcomas, which are grade 1, but still the radiology and the rest of the morphology is helpful for the diagnosis of benign conditions. So here you see the cartilaginous matrix, which is lobulated. This one is lobule, this one is lobule, and again, here is lobule. There is somewhat hypercellularity, but there is hypocellularity. And here you see the high power appearance of the enchondroma. You see the myxoid bluish cartilaginous matrix in the background, along with these chondrocytes, which have usually most of the chondrocytes have single nuclei in the cell. Here you see the high power appearance of the enchondromas. This is the chondrocyte. You see single nuclei. Again, this one has single nuclei. This one has single. Most of the chondrocytes have single nuclei. Like these have the binucleation, but again, these are 2 or 3 chondrocytes which have binucleation, like this one, like this, not exactly this one, but this one, and this one has the single nuclei. This one, these are the single, usually have the single nuclei, and this is the characteristic appearance of the enchondroma in a benign condition of the cartilaginous tumors. Then again, there's another entity which is chondroblastoma. Chondroblastoma is the rare bone tumor, less than 1% of the primary bone neoplasms. Usually it occurs in the teenage males with open growth plate. So it is painful clinically. It is patient presents with pain, often causes joint effusion and restrict joint mobility. So common sites for the chondroblastoma is the distal femur, proximal humerus, tibia, pelvis, ribs, feet, scapula. And usually they are present at the epiphysis of the apophysis, such as ilia crest, and may extend into the metaphysis, and also they are present in the skull in the older patients. So course is usually benign for the chondroblastoma, but it commonly recurs. When the recurrence occur, usually the atypia in the cells are more than the primary one. It may rarely invades locally. Rarely it causes pulmonary metastasis. And usually patient survives after removal of the localized metastasis, but if single metastasis, not multiple. So usually the tumor has the benign course of disease. So on radiology, it is well circumscribed tumor of epiphysis with spotty calcifications. So on gross description, it is well circumscribed, blue-gray, because it is the cartilaginous origin, so it gives the appearance of bluish color. Firm gray, usually 3 to 6 centimeter in size, and it has variable calcification. It may have cystic areas, may have necrosis. So on microscopic appearance, the chondroblast with abundant pink cytoplasm, it has well-defined borders. It have hyperlobulated nuclei with grooves, and there is filigree type calcifications. They have multinucleated osteoclast type giant cells, and you see the pictures of the gross appearance of the chondroblastoma, and this is the microscopic appearance of the chondroblastoma. So here we see the bone. This is the native bone. This one is the native bone, which have only the rim behind. The center of the bone is all replaced by lesion, which is the chondroblastoma, is pale appearance, and there is spotty areas of hemorrhage. And here we see the primitive type cells along with these areas shows the calcifications, which is filigree type calcifications. On high power appearance, you see the multinucleated osteoclastic type giant cell, which is again the part of the tumor. And here we see occasional mitosis, but occasional mitosis is not is the indication of the malignancy, because usually they have benign course. And you see the grooves in the nuclei. These are basically the primitive chondroblast, which have grooves and bluish and pinkish cytoplasm and smaller in size. You see these lines, little bit lines are the grooves in the, these are the lines which are the grooves in the chondroblast. Usually 20 to 50% of the chondroblastomas are associated with secondary aneurysmal bone cyst. And there is rare haline cartilage, no significant atypia. Again, you see the hyper appearance of the chondroblastoma. You see the chondrocytes. These all are chondrocytes. And here you see the grooves in the nuclei of the cell, like in here, like here is the nuclear grooves. And again, nuclear grooves, these small primitive appearance of chondroblast and these multinucleated giant cells and filigree type calcification. This is the characteristic morphological finding for the diagnosis of chondroblastoma. So here is another benign tumor of the cartilage is chondromyxoid fibroma. So chondromyxoid fibroma is again is a benign cartilaginous tumor of young adults. It's usually arising in the proximal and distal parts of the long bones like femur, humerus, tibia, and on radiology, it is eccentric lytic lesion, which is radiolucent metaphyseal lesions, and well demarcated sclerosed and scalloped intramedullary edges. Scalloped means it's punched out spaces, intramedullary edges. So gross description for the chondromyxoid fibroma, it's a lobulated tumor masses with intact periosteum. And morphologically, there is lobules which are separated by mononuclear spindle cells mixed with multinucleated giant cells. Here is the gross appearance of the chondromyxoid fibroma. Here is the native bone, and the center part of the bone is all replaced by chondromyxoid fibroma. You see the lobulation, little bit nodular and lobulated appearance, and the shiny pale lesion. Again, the course is benign, and the complete surgical resection is the treatment of choice for the chondromyxoid fibromas. Sometimes there is chances of recurrences, but again, there is no chances or no potential for the distant metastasis. So here you see the microscopic picture for the chondromyxoid fibroma. This one is basically the lobulation. This hole is a lobule, which is surrounded by spindle cells, and in center there is myxoid cartilaginous appearance. Like these are the spindle cells which surrounds the lobule. This one is the lobule. So this is it has the lobulated architecture, and these lobules are separated by spindle cells. And sometimes there are giant cells. Here you see the giant cells, presence of the giant cells. Again, there is the, this is the lobule, and here you see the, at the periphery, there is the spindle cells which separates the lobule. Here is the lobule, and here is the spindle cells which separates this lobule from this lobule, and here is the presence of giant cells. So sometimes lobules have stellate cells, like these spindle cells. Sometimes you see the small fine edges which are spreading in the surrounding tissue is called the stellate cells. Cells have variable pink cytoplasm. You see here the pink cytoplasm, and there are extensions and oval to spindle nuclei. Sometimes here you see the marked nuclear pyriomorphism, but it's not the common feature. Sometimes you see, but usually the bland spindle cells are present. There is fibroblast-like cells which are present around the lobules. Sometimes there are coarse calcifications are present, and sometimes necrosis and cystic change may be seen. 10% of the cases are associated with aneurysmal bone cyst, secondary aneurysmal bone cyst. The last one is the malignant cartilaginous tumor, which is the chondrosarcoma. So chondrosarcoma is the malignant tumor characterized by formation of the cartilaginous matrix. It could be primary, it could be secondary. Primary chondrosarcoma is arising without a benign precursor, and secondary chondrosarcomas have primary benign precursor, usually the osteochondroma, usually the cartilaginous cap of the osteochondroma are pre-existing and chondroma. From here, the malignant chondrosarcomas arise if they are secondary. Then there is periosteal chondrosarcomas, which are occurring on the surface of the bone in association with the periosteum. So chondrosarcoma is basically the locally aggressive malignant group of tumors, which is characterized by formation of cartilaginous cap and chondrocytes embedded in the lacunae. So there are histological grades for the chondrosarcomas. Again, grade 1, 2, and 3, and the sites which are commonly involved in the chondrosarcomas are pelvic bones, femur, and humerus. And there are other sites which also involve, have chondrosarcomas. These are the trunk, skull, and facial bones. Then there is periosteal chondrosarcomas, which involve the metaphysis of the long bones, usually distal femur and humerus. So clinically, patient presents with pain and local swelling and enlarging mass. And on radiology, there is popcorn-like calcifications. There are lytic lesions and osteal scalloping, and there is thickened cortex and cortical erosions or destructions. On gross description, there is large lobular mass with gray tan cut surface. On microscopy, there is abundant cartilaginous matrix with chondrocytes in the lacunae. It could be lobular or growth. It could be a lobular growth pattern or diffuse growth pattern. Then there is permeation of the intratrabecular spaces by the malignant cells. There is varying degree of increased cellularity, nuclear atypia, and mitotic activity. There are 3 grades, morphological grades for chondrosarcoma. It's grade 1, 2, and 3. Grade 1 usually mimics enchondromas. They have low cellularity, but still mild atypia. Then grade 2 has moderate cellularity and diffuse growth pattern. Then grade 3 has the high cellularity, marked atypia. Here we see the gross picture for the chondrosarcomas. There are the head of the long bone, which here you see the tumor. Again, here is the malignant cartilaginous tumor, which has irregular margins, no encapsulation or well demarcation present. Here you see, and here you see there is permeation in the bone. So here you see, this is the normal cartilage. Again, this one and this one is the left 2 pictures shown the normal cartilage, and the right picture is the chondrosarcoma. Here is the normal cartilage, which have usually single nuclei in the chondrocytes. Again, you see the bland nuclei present in the chondrocytes. Here you see the little bit darker chromatin, which represents the mild atypia of the nuclei. So this basically chondrosarcoma is grade 1 or well differentiated chondrosarcoma. Here we can see the grade 2 type chondrosarcoma. Still, we recognize the chondroid matrix in the background, which is bluish, purplish background. Along with these chondrocytes have little bit larger nuclei and little bit larger hyperchromasia of the nuclei. Again, here you see the grade 2 chondrosarcomas, little bit sheeting. Here you see the grade 3 chondrosarcomas, increased cellularity, sheeting, increased atypia. Sometimes we found mitotic figures in the chondrosarcomas. So this is the end of the today's lecture, and tomorrow we will cover the basically rest of the tumors, which is the osteogenic and fibrohistiocytic, fibrogenic tumors, vascular lymphomas, and giant cell tumor, and miscellaneous tumors. Tomorrow we will be done in the subsequent lecture. So any question? Mozam, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear.
So any question from the student side? I can't see.
They can send questions on your email.
So still there is no question and I can't see the on the screen. So if there is no question, then I will leave the class. So Mozam, there is no questions still.
Right.
So
Ma'am, due to certain issues, we were told to disable the chat box. So they can ask questions on email or some other contact.
So chat box is right now is empty. There is no question. So if a student has questions later on, then they will ask tomorrow. Still, there is no question right now. Okay, so I'm leaving. Okay, Mozam, Allah Hafiz.
Okay.
And rest of the students, Allah Hafiz.